My people, wahala be like fuel price for Naija. You know they ever come down. Madam Remi Tinubu don't put herself for serious dragging because she open mouth to defend Akpabio and the Senate for suspending Natasha Akpoti. But trust Nigerians, they know they ever forget. That's so then go dig out her old Senate wahala video. Come remind her say she self don't do worse. Madam Remi talk say the Senate do well to suspend Natasha because they need to maintain discipline and respect. But Nigerians they ask, now you remember respect? No be this same Remi Tinubu wey don get her own share of buzzwords inside Senate before. Why she no collect suspension that time? The dragging wey she dey collect now no be here. So if you can look at the screen, you will see video of her, fighting at the Senate, quarreling and making noise. And they didn't even suspend her and all that. Now she is defending Akpabio, for shutting down Senator Natasha Akpoti because she was trying to, explain to Nigerians, for them to understand why Senate President is denying her, from airing her own view on Senate because she refused, to give the man doggy. But before we continue, I beg like this video so that YouTube will also recommend it to others. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Share this video and don't forget to drop your own thoughts on the comment section below.
Yes, madam. You don't want to talk here. I'm not the talk. I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. I'm your representative. I'm not respectful. Madam, please. How can you call me a talk? How can you call me a
That's not very wrong. Madam, you need to apologize. Don't come back to confirm for vote. Madam, don't follow her. Madam, don't follow her.
Talk to the whole world.
Yes.
We have listened to you the whole the television everywhere. So what's different?
Sir,
I just making a statement here.
Sir, I will not.
Even if it is one sentence. Say one sentence.
Okay.
See, distinguished Chairman, sir. Distinguished, we want to tell you, you're just joining us. We have a procedure and we're also under law. What we're doing as a legislature. You don't come in here when we invite you despite your colleague. All right? You are on the other side now. Everybody requires a fair hearing. What is going on with you affects us as a body. All right? That is why the Senate President constituted this committee. And you can see the level and integrity of the people under here. You don't come in here and dictate to us the procedures we are supposed to adopt. And that is, you don't dictate to us because you undermine us by even trying to do that. You haven't even listened to us. Even if we are going beyond what you expect, you can stop us. But you don't come to on the other side and start dictating to us. Do you want us to protect you, or do you want us to defend you, or you want to be on your own? Because do you realize that the Senate, I hope that mic and let me finish. Do you realize that the Senate, when we constitute this, whatever the law gives, we can also suspend you? Do you realize that? No, sir.
I will not sit and you threaten me with suspension.
We are not threatening you. I said we are not threatening you.
I will not sit you threatening your suspension.
With all due respect, sir.
With all due respect to you, I won't sit here. You are my colleague. You are a senator like me. You cannot threaten me suspension. I take exception, ma'am.
Excuse me.
Off that man. You are digging a hole for yourself.
Excuse me.
All right, then go and pay.
Okay. I'm also another woman.
Yes, ma'am.
Be careful.
Ma'am, please.
Please, I expect excuse me, please. Distinguished. Why are you behaving this way? This behavior is not expected of you. You see, about how many of us senators are here?
Beat him because of certain things which I explained and we discussed. So, you can ask him that question now. But, distinguished colleagues, order. Why I'm taking order. Order, distinguished Senator Tinubu. Somebody's on the floor. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, why I'm taking us through this thing is because the nation is watching us. And this.
Joining us now is Oji Ope with stories trending around the world. Hello, Junix.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. How are you this morning?
Happy International Women's Day. Accelerating action on women issues.
Right, absolutely. I love it. Do you know our ombudsman, Mr. Kayode Komolafe, says he's a male feminist, so he really appreciates. I mean, that's the first time I'm hearing that term. I love it. Well, good morning, he for she. I love it. And you are
gender-friendly.
Gender-friendly, okay. You are. I know that for sure. Well, good morning, Ayo, and happy International Women's Day. Absolutely. Great month, critical month, and it's so, I mean, it's coincidence that we're talking about this whole... Are you boycotting? No, you shouldn't.
I think we need to discuss serious things. Let's not do the optics. Let's not do the...
Well, all right. Well, good morning, Rufi on Fire. How are you this morning? Perfect. Well, all right. Well, good morning to you, viewers. Let's begin what's trending with reactions trailing the suspension of Senator Natasha Akpoti Uduaghan, lawmaker representing Kogi Central, despite an order of the Federal High Court restraining the Senate from proceeding with a purported investigation against Senator Akpoti Uduaghan. The Senate Committee on Ethics, Code of Conduct, and Public Relations moved to suspend Akpoti Uduaghan for 6 months over alleged violation of the Red Chamber's rules.
Prayer one.
Yes.
That the Senate do suspend Senator Natasha Akpoti Uduaghan for 6 months for a total violation of the Senate Standing Rules 2023 as amended for bringing the presiding officer and the entire Nigerian Senate in general to a public opprobrium. Those in support of prayer one say aye.
Aye.
Those against say nay. I'd put the question. Those in support of prayer one say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Senator Akpabio, Senate President Godswill Akpabio there being the judge and jury in his own case. I mean, we know that the Senate has asked her to apologize, or they're saying that they might lift the suspension if she apologizes, which is very debatable at this point. I mean, the conversation is huge. But let me read some of the moves by the panel. Well, the recommendations of the Senate panel on Natasha Akpoti's seating arrangement. I'll read them. They say, 1, the Senate panel recommends the suspension of Natasha Akpoti Uduaghan from all legislative activities effective March 6, 2025. 2, her office should be locked and she must hand over all Senate properties in her possession to the clerk of the National Assembly for the duration of the suspension. 3, neither the senator nor her staff should be seen within the premises of the National Assembly during the suspension period. Her salaries, allowances, and those of her legislative aides should be suspended, along with the withdrawal of all security detail for the duration of the suspension. 5, she should be barred from representing herself locally or internationally as a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria during the suspension. 6, the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petitions recommended a 6-month suspension for the lawmaker representing Kogi Central. I thought it was important to read this out for our viewers who are just tuning in at this moment. But I mean, I believe Senator Orji Uzor Kalu had stopped, that, is it order 4 or which one was it? allowing her staff probably to be able to, to be paid. But I think what we should question here is the fact that, her salary is being withdrawn at the same time that for her suspension. Many have argued that, other senators that were suspended still received their salaries. So, that's one of the biggest questions that we should ask here at this moment. But let me take a reaction to this story. This is from Shehu Sani, who wrote, "When I publicly disclosed the salaries and allowances of the senators, it nearly earned me a 6-month suspension. If not for divine intervention of Saraki and Ekore Mado's immediate rescue, just know that if you are there and you blow a whistle too loudly, you will be on your own. No senator will bring him head or neck to support you." And that is what played out yesterday, because it appeared that Natasha was on her own. Well, following her suspension, the Kogi Central lawmaker was escorted out of the chambers by the sergeant-at-arms. But before she left, she declared that this injustice will not be sustained.
This injustice will not be sustained. The pursuit for justice.
She was about to speak there. They turned off her mic. She was not allowed to be heard before the petition was delivered as well. What sort of injustice was that? Let me take Obieze-Kwetili's tweet. She wrote, "I hope those senators in the chamber of the Nigerian Senate today and the ones who conveniently disappeared all heard the last word of their inspiringly bold and unbowed colleague, Senator Natasha Akpoti Uduaghan. She courageously said, as she left the chamber today, this injustice shall not be sustained. The wise among them will be haunted by this until her words surely come to pass. The unwise among them will not even understand what she said. For all of us that care about our democratic process and principle, we're glad that she said what she said, a woman like Senator Natasha Akpoti Uduaghan." And that really is how I want to start this conversation about what appeared to be injustice at the floor of the Senate yesterday. Rufy.
Okay. I want to talk facts this morning, a lot of facts. So I'll throw them around. Number one, injustice. It appears it's a matter of fact. How is it a matter of fact? The Senate Committee, Chairman on Ethics, violated the Nigerian Constitution yesterday. There was a court order served on him that the case should not go on until, I think they variated on the 10th of March, thereabout. But they said, the National Assembly takes preeminence more than the court process. I'll read what the Nigerian Constitution says. Section 4, Section 8, Judicial Review Legislative powers. This section states explicitly the exercise of National Assembly powers or the State House of Assembly powers is subject to judicial review. Nigerian Constitution, not my opinion, not Rufai talking. Nigerian Constitution, the ground norm. Section 6(b), judicial powers extend to all actions and decisions. This grants the judicial authority to adjudicate all matters, all disputes involving the National Assembly. The Senator Masue violated this because, as quoted in a Tribune newspaper, he said the National Assembly takes preeminence. Based on this, they didn't hear our side of the story. There was no fair hearing, and they wrote their reports hastily. The question you ask is, why did they hastily write the report? Because they wanted to nail her. And they read the report out, indicting her, without hearing her own side of the story in this. We've seen more egregious scandal. People were given the right of reply. You remember the case of Senator Elisha Abu, when he had the sex toy something? Yes, He was given the right of reply. We even remembered how he was shouting on the First Lady now during his session. And I think that session, where he was subjected to the Ethics Committee, was broadcast live. We saw excerpt of that. We saw the excerpt of the interchange. So Senator Natasha Akpoti also asked that this section should be broadcasted live, but no, they said no. They will not put it live. Secondly, is the case of harassment, sexual harassment. Finally, they've put that one. We'll see if they're going to investigate it. So everything looks like a witch hunt. and it is obvious and it is clear as regards that. So these are facts. People can controvert them if they want.
Well, before I come to you, Ayo, the First Lady of Nigeria has broken her silence on the feud between Senate President Godswill Akpabio and Natasha Akpoti over the sexual harassment allegations. While speaking to journalists ahead of International Women's Day, the First Lady said the Senate chamber should be a place of honor, not controversy, and urged Nigerian women to assert themselves in leadership positions by shutting down any form of sexual harassment.
I believe that Senate is doing what is needful because that's what it is. It's an inside place and it's a matured chambers. We shouldn't be hearing things like that. It's a matured chamber and it should be treated with respect. It's an honor for you to be in that place alone. I was there for 12 years, even in my younger days, and I'm still trying to look young, you know. But people compliment you all the time, only that just put your place in yourself. Women, raise yourself high. Don't be in a position that men will be talking to you. You can always shut them down before they start. So all the very best. Keep doing your best. Happy International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day to Senator Remi Tinubu, First Lady of Nigeria. So many takeaways from her comments there, one of which, you know, she said that the Senate House is what? What did she say again? For mature people, and it's supposed to be for mature minds. And the second, which we'll discuss after I take some tweets, is the fact that she said, you know, you'd have to find ways to shut men down before they sexually harass you. I mean, that's a comment from First Lady of Nigeria. Let me take Rinu Oduwala's tweet. She wrote, 9 years ago, she was also disrupting and creating controversy in the Nigerian Senate. She pulled up an old video. Let's take a look at that video.
Distinguished colleagues, order. Why I'm taking order. Order, distinguished Senator Tinubu.
Somebody's on the floor.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, why I'm taking us through this thing is because the nation is watching us.
All right, we said nations. I mean, there you have it. I mean, we are not at all encouraging, you know, the sort of disruptiveness on the show. We have talked about decorum and how important it is for the senators to show decorum when they are on the floor of the Senate. And that really is the main point. I mean, what is good for the goose is good for the gander. I'd like a comment from you because I'd like to also touch more on the issues that were raised about sexual harassment.
I thank you. So when this matter started, one of the people that some Nigerians had called on to speak up was the First Lady, Senator Remi Tinubu. One, because of her position as the First Lady of the nation and a woman who has positioned herself as a women's rights gender advocate. And then second as well, because of her history and experience as having been a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, a woman at that. So it was expected that she would understand some of the peculiarities of the challenges that women in the chambers face and be able to speak objectively to this matter. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if people would feel if some people might not feel disappointed by some of the comments made by her, with due respect. And I say this because, more than ever, she understands how tensions can get high and how, as a woman in a place where you're in a minority, you feel the need to speak up for your rights. We saw, thank God that the internet never forgets, and we saw that video. In fact, remember how that debacle between her and Senator Dino Melaye went on for so long that Dino Melaye came to Lagos on body loan and said he was in front of her house, let her do her worst. And a lot of Nigerians spoke up for her and spoke up for the injustice at this point. And she herself didn't need a lot of voices. Look at when they were shouting, order, order, she asserted herself.
Yes.
Thankfully for her, no one invited her to come before an ethics committee to defend her actions in the chambers. I wonder what the difference between that time and now is. One, was it a question of the leadership at the time? The fact that the leader was able to understand her stance and wasn't the leader in the direct eye of the storm, so he was able to be objective in this matter. Because that's the conversation we're also having, and I'm glad you said that, a judge and a jury in his own matter. Senator Akpabio is a principal actor in this situation. He ought to have, has been advised by well-meaning Nigerians to at least recuse himself. I said earlier on, even if it were for the optics alone, to show that in the chambers, things are done properly, and I'm a man of integrity. Therefore, I'm willing to subject myself to investigation to prove the fact that I am not, all these things you've said. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. What made matters worse is that it seemed as if her voice was further oppressed and depressed because she wasn't allowed to speak at all. She had to put in the mic, and then her mic was switched off, and she was unceremoniously walked out. It doesn't speak well at all for Nigeria or for women. And I said it earlier, 4 down to 3. Yes. I hope the other 3 female senators will survive in the House where it has become a gentleman's club.
That's
so it's very sad to hear this.
Very, very sad. And I just wanted also, because yesterday we discussed the topic of sexual harassment and the definition of sexual harassment. And I got some responses. I'd like to read that before I come to you. And this is a response I got from Instagram. And this person wrote, "Hello, good morning, OG. On your show this morning, What's Trending, after defining the term sexual harassment, you went ahead to say that if a lady dresses in a transparent or body-bearing clothing, that it does not concern the men. That if he looks at her somehow, it can amount to sexual harassment. How quickly did you forget that sexual harassment is not peculiar to one gender? The man can also be sexually harassed by a woman. Remember that men are moved by what they see. If a woman dresses as to invite a man to look at her, she's sexually harassing the men. Inasmuch as anyone can dress as it pleases him or her to social events, it is not so for official events and workplaces. We're all parents, and whatever side we take, it will affect our own children of the opposite gender." And this is from Mwadi. I believe Mwadi missed the session when we talked about the fact that it goes both ways. So because Natasha Akpoti Udraha was the topic and she's female, we concentrated on her topic. Of course, we have advocated here, and you also said it, Dr. Abati, yesterday, that it goes both ways. You teach your men, you're smiling, you teach your men how to behave, you teach your women how to behave as well. But also, let me just, again, read the definition of sexual harassment before I come to you, Dr. Abati. Sexual harassment is unwelcome sexual behavior that makes someone feel uncomfortable or humiliated. It can include physical, verbal, or visual actions. Sexual harassment is a form of sexual violence, which includes any sexual activity. This is a separate definition from which I read yesterday, and I wanted to make sure that we have that as well. Dr. Abati, over to you.
Okay. I think the issues are as follows. Yes. Earlier on today, I said that, look, beyond the melodrama on the table or on the floor of the National Assembly, I think that the major thing here is that in terms of the conversation, public attention has been drawn afresh, regardless of whatever attitude anybody has towards it, about certain fundamental issues, about misogyny, or if you like, you call it sexual harassment, about the place of women in politics, and also about, the conduct of persons representing Nigeria at the highest levels. Those are issues of debate that will not go away. That these are issues that Nigeria will return to again and again about women representation and their place in politics. So in terms of issues, those are, live subjects that we'll continue to deal with. That may well be the gain of the whole of this melodrama. Now to the substantive issue. Under Section 60 of the 1999 Constitution, the Senate has the right, or the National Assembly, if you like, to make its own rules for the conduct of its own affairs. But the same Constitution of Nigeria, also recognizes the separation of powers. Principle principle established by Baron de Montesquieu in 1745 in an essay titled The Spirit of Law. The spirit of law that is separate, sections of government, the legislature, the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. They are separate, but they can work together to defend the spirit of the law. Without being pedantic, quickly, if Mrs. Akpoti Uduaghan feels that she has been served badly, there is injustice, she still has the right under the constitutions of Nigeria to seek redress where her rights may have been violated. And that's why she has already even filed a case dealing with fundamental human rights enforcement. Because even when you say there is separation of powers, you cannot abuse the rights of an individual. The court can inquire into that. But the precedent is that even the judiciary cannot dictate to the legislature. And, that's the principle under those three sections. However, the court knows what to do. We're told that Justice Iguatu's court is going to sit today. If there's been any violation of the law on the part of the Senate insisting on its own rules and its rights under Section 60, the court can charge them for contempt, can charge the chairman of that committee for contempt. That, I think, is a major issue. Yeah. But this conversation will continue. Rights where they've been violated should be defended. And I see that you are concerned about Mrs. Uduaghan's salary. Why? The thing is that in the past, other persons who were suspended collected their salaries.
That's the point.
I feel it's fair. Maybe they should allow her to have a salary, whether she needs it or not. But it's just unfortunate that the people who have been served the short end of the stick in this are the people of Kogi Central that she's representing. Because for as long as she's on suspension, nobody will be there to defend their interests from Kogi Central.
Absolutely. In terms of Senator Remi Tinubu's comments, where she talked about trying to prevent sexual harassment before it happens. And, to go back to that comment from that Instagram user who talked about the fact that, when I said if you go out and your skin is showing or your dress is the man's fault, it's also the woman's fault. I mean, do you understand that people in Saudi Arabia get raped, get sexually harassed, and they are fully clothed? So it really doesn't have anything to do with what you're wearing. Like, this is what the point I'm trying to establish. It really doesn't have anything to do with how you appear. It has to do with what the person does to you. And that's really the point. Whether it's a man or a woman, because I've seen women who sexually harass men, because it's such an important...
Sexual harassment is in the mind. Yes. And please, it's not about what the person wears.
Yes, yeah.
There are beautiful-looking women.
Right.
That, goodness me, in the mind of some men, they've sexually harassed.
Yes.
They use the image of those women for their personal sexual activities, which is a wrong one. I mean, I don't want to masturbate on this topic too much.
Yeah. No, give us empirical facts.
So, with due respect, Dr. Abati, I will give you empirical facts.
Yes.
There are men that take pictures of beautiful-looking women and use to commit acts of, personal, sexual sensationalizing of their organs and their fantasy and their organs. The woman does not even need to wear anything sometimes. And that's why we need to condemn it. It's in the mind of the person.
Right.
So when the person now exhibits it by making attempts, then we need to condemn it. It's not about what the woman wears in the first place.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying
that.
It's
not about what the woman wears.
But we here are encouraging our daughters to dress perfectly.
Better.
We're not saying that you should go out wearing, don't free the nipple.
Yeah, don't do that.
We always encourage decent dressing on Arise News. Well, speaking about sexual harassment and all of that, former NFF President Amaju Melvin Pinnick has debunked a viral video showing a man who looks just like him dancing inappropriately with a woman, saying the man is not him and that is an attempt to discredit him ahead of the CAF elections. The clip, which has now gone viral, according to digital forensics experts, is AI generated. Let's take a look before we come back for a discussion. That's pure sexual harassment. I mean, really, the man is basically dancing. It looks, it looks really, really strange. But I'm glad Amaju Pinnick has debunked this video. I mean, definitely what AI can do. Dr. Bati, you were sending me different sort of videos, AI generated and all of that, but that's what AI can do. It is not Amaju Pinnick, and like he said, it's an attempt to discredit him and, you know, ahead of his election.
We have what they call doppelgangers.
Yes.
So that man looks like his
looks just like him. Yeah.
But you know, if you look at him closely, Amaju Pinnick has a more athletic frame than this person. But at the time that Amaju Pinnick is running for a position in the FIFA Council, I think some cynical, you know, persons will may just be trying to demarcate him to show that, oh, this is the man who is going to the FIFA Council. But it's just as well that you have brought this to show that it's not him. Maybe a doppelganger. But you know, Amaju Pinnick, I mean...
Right, it couldn't be him. I mean, he's the salacious dance steps. I'm not sure about that. It looks... No, I'm saying that was a salacious dance step. Well, all right. Yes, congratulations, really.
Him getting back on the FIFA board. We're really proud of the work he's done.
Absolutely. Congratulations, Amaju Pinnick. Well, take this story now. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission on Wednesday filed charges against MultiChoice Nigeria, alleging multiple violations of consumer protection laws and imposing a price hike without adequately informing the consumers. Some of the key allegations include unfair subscription practices and the implementation of unfair billing systems and subscription models that is of a disadvantage to consumers. The FCCPC is pursuing legal action which could lead to significant penalties or restrictions on MultiChoice's operation in Nigeria. Dr. Bati, 30 seconds really quickly on the story. I wanted to highlight this because it affects all
talk about
the users.
The need for consumer protection in Nigeria. And the FCCPC was established to protect the consumer. Now, when Babatunde Urukera was there, you know, this was a major issue. Now, we have our colleague, former chairman of the editorial board of this day newspaper, former commissioner for environment in Lagos State, Tunji Bello, as the man in charge. Now, what has happened is that the FCCPC has gone to the Federal High Court of Lagos and 3-count charges against MultiChoice and John Ugbe, the MD, for violating FCCPC Act, sections 30, 110, 119, punishable under sections 159, sub 3 and 4 of the same FCCC Act of 2018. Now, what are the allegations? That they told them to hold on, but they went ahead and increased tariffs. But those tariffs have already been increased. So why is the FCCPC acting after the fact? Because we are now paying more already for the tariffs. What is the excuse that MultiChoice is given? Inflation, difficult business environment, which is the same excuse that other businesses are giving, that this is a very difficult environment to do business. Landlords have increased rent. Other people have increased prices. Schools have increased prices. GSK and Sanofi, they have left Nigeria because of this difficult environment. Okay, why the target on MultiChoice? This is not the first time that MultiChoice will be taken to court. They are also doing business in this environment. Finally, I recall Babatunde Urukera again. He said in his time, I think it was on this station or another one, that FCCPC does not fix prices, but that there is a clause in the Act that says, okay, they can, for a temporary period, fix prices, but they will have to recommend to the president and get approval. 2, He says people are confusing pay as you go in telecom with pay as you view, which is different. So this subject has been dealt with before. Maybe FCCPC should look at his own books and see what that same body had decided on this matter before now. And why multi-choice? Why don't they take landlords to court?
Well, all right.
They should take landlords to court. And schools, private schools.
I don't know why you're pointing at me about private schools.
Private schools, I agree.
Well, all right. Well, as we mark Women's Month, we would like to pay tribute to Anike Agbaje Williams, a trailblazing figure in African broadcasting, who passed away on February 26 at the age of 88. Agbaje Williams made history by becoming the first face to appear on African television during the test transmission and official opening of Western Nigeria Television on October 31st, 1959. Western Nigerian Television, now known as Nigerian Television Authority (NTA), was the continent's first television station. Agbaje Williams also earned the distinction of being the first voice heard on the Western Nigerian Broadcasting Service, Africa's first commercial radio station, earning her the nickname Double First for those pioneering achievements. She died peacefully in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, where she had lived most of her life. I thought it was important to highlight this. What would I say? I mean, she was a trailblazer, amazing. May her soul rest in peace. Well, before we end what's trending today, let's highlight 23-year-old Zuriel Oduwole, a Nigerian advocate for peace education and gender equality, who has been nominated for the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize in our Good News Report.
Through compassion, making peace, helping our neighbors, volunteering our time. We all know what is right, and that's why we must raise our hands until someone asks us what. We must, you must, if you believe, and if we youth ever want to truly change this world definitively.
Amazing, really, I've been trying to highlight